Ethan Marshall felt the shudder before the crash, a trembling vibration that ran through the cockpit of his small exploration ship. He had flown countless missions, charted hundreds of unclaimed worlds, but nothing had prepared him for the violent turbulence that now shook his vessel. Red lights flashed across the control panel, warning him of failing engines, and a harsh alarm screamed in his ears. He fought to maintain control, gripping the yoke with white-knuckled hands, but the ship was no longer responding to commands. He had only a few seconds to brace himself. With a jolt that threw him against the harness, the ship plummeted from the crimson skies and slammed onto a jagged surface. Pain shot through his shoulder, and the world spun around him as the ship skidded along the crystalline rocks, sparks flying in every direction. Finally, with a thunderous impact, the vessel came to rest, half buried in a slope of red crystal formations that shimmered under the strange light of the sky. Ethan coughed, trying to clear the metallic taste from his mouth. The cockpit was a mess of twisted metal, broken screens, and flickering lights. He felt a deep ache in his ribs, but his training kicked in. Survival first. He unbuckled the harness, ignoring the sharp sting in his shoulder, and pushed the hatch open. The world outside was unlike anything he had ever seen. Towering crystals stretched into the crimson sky, catching the dim light in jagged reflections. The ground beneath his boots hummed faintly, a vibration that seemed almost alive. He stumbled forward, testing his injured shoulder. Each step echoed across the strange terrain, and he felt an unease settle in his chest. He was alone, or at least, he thought he was. That's when he saw her. At first, Ethan thought it was another trick of the light, a mirage born from exhaustion and shock. A figure stood a few meters away, motionless, observing him. As he blinked, the figure stepped forward, revealing a girl unlike any human he had ever seen. Her skin had a soft glow, her hair shimmered like liquid silver, and her eyes, large, luminous, and golden, seemed to pierce into him. There was something almost ethereal about her, yet her stance was cautious, hesitant. Ethan raised a hand slowly. "Hello?" His voice cracked. "Are you alive?" The girl's lips moved, and words formed, strange yet understandable. "You are not alone. They are coming." Ethan froze. The warning sent a chill down his spine. "Who's coming? What do you mean?" She did not answer immediately. Instead, she gestured for him to follow, moving quickly, but silently toward a narrow crevice between the crystalline cliffs. Something about the urgency in her eyes made him move despite the sharp pain in his shoulder. He limped after her, every step making the strange hum beneath his feet resonate more loudly. The crevice opened into a hidden tunnel, one carved naturally but widened over time. The walls pulsed faintly with a soft light, enough to illuminate the path. The girl moved ahead with grace, glancing back occasionally to ensure he followed. Ethan noticed strange symbols etched into the walls, glowing softly, like a language he could not read. What is this place?" he asked, trying to catch his breath. "A safe place," she replied simply. "We hide here. From them." Ethan tried to process her words. Hide from who? The warning in her voice was genuine, urgent, and it stirred something deep within him. He had faced danger before, but this was different. There was an intelligence behind it, a predator or enemy that was not human. Not like anything he had encountered in his years among the stars. The tunnel led deeper underground, the air growing cooler and cleaner. The hum of the crystals faded, replaced by a faint, steady rhythm that seemed to come from beneath the ground itself. After what felt like hours, though it could only have been minutes, they arrived at an enormous cavern. Ethan's jaw dropped. The cavern was vast, filled with creatures of every shape and size, moving with purpose and intelligence. Some had wings, others multiple limbs, and a few seemed almost human in form. They paused and watched as Ethan entered, whispering among themselves in a language he could not understand. Despite their alien appearance, there was a sense of community, an organized society living in harmony underground. The girl led him to a small platform that overlooked a gathering of the inhabitants. She turned to him, her eyes serious. We are peaceful. But the hunters, they kill. They take. They destroy. Ethan swallowed hard. The weight of her words sank in. Hunters? Who are they? The Varkari. They come from above. They take everything. They see. We hide. We survive. He nodded slowly, realizing that the girl's warning was more than a simple caution. It was a lifeline. He had landed on a planet where survival depended on more than just strength. It required understanding, caution, and now, trust in this strange alien child. He noticed her studying him, assessing his reactions. And he realized she was as curious about him as he was about her. "I'm Ethan," he said softly. I mean, no harm." The girl nodded. Lyria. It was an awkward introduction. Two beings from completely different worlds, yet suddenly bound by circumstance. She led him further into the cavern, showing him living quarters, communal areas, and what appeared to be gardens growing under artificial light. Every detail fascinated Ethan. The way the aliens used crystal formations to store and transmit energy. The way they communicated silently with gestures and glowing patterns, and the way their society functioned efficiently without conflict. "They live in fear," Lyria said quietly as she guided him to a resting area. "But fear makes them careful, safer." Ethan sat heavily on a soft, padded surface, feeling the ache of the crash and the relief of finally having a moment to breathe. "How long have you been hiding?" he asked. Long time, since they came." He frowned. "Since who came?" Her expression darkened. "The hunters, Varkari. They destroy all who resist." Ethan nodded, understanding that explanations would come slowly, in fragments. The girl had warned him for a reason. The Varkari were real, and their threat was imminent. He had to think quickly, assess his options, and learn everything he could from this underground civilization if he wanted to survive. Hours passed, though time felt strange in the cavern. Ethan was introduced to more members of the alien society, each cautious, but curious. Despite his differences, they allowed him to stay, offering food, water, and medical attention. He learned that the planet's surface was dangerous, that the Varkari patrolled above, seeking prey, and that life underground was their only sanctuary. As Ethan rested, Lyria stayed near, watching him with quiet intensity. "You think humans strong?" she asked suddenly. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Strong? I don't know. Humans adapt. We survive. We find ways, even against impossible odds." She nodded slowly, as if weighing his words. "Maybe humans, different, maybe, can help." Her words sparked a thought in Ethan. He had been alone, stranded, and scared. Yet here was a possibility he had not considered before. Perhaps he was not just a victim of circumstance, perhaps he could be a protector, a bridge between his species and hers, and maybe even a force the Varkari had not expected. Night came, though it was hard to tell in the underground cavern. Ethan lay on the soft surface, staring at the faintly glowing ceiling above him. The hum of the crystals was soothing now, a constant reminder that he was not entirely alone. Lyria slept nearby, alert even in rest, and he found some comfort in her presence. But sleep did not come easily. He thought of the crash, the strange landscape, and the words of warning. "They are coming." The repetition in his mind felt like a drumbeat, reminding him that the danger above ground was real and growing. He remembered the look in Lyria's eyes when she first saw him. Fear, urgency, and hope intertwined. Somehow, he had been chosen, or maybe stumbled into a role he had not yet earned. Either way, he realized that surviving the night was only the beginning. The real challenge would be understanding this alien world, earning its trust, and confronting a threat unlike anything humans had ever faced. As he drifted into uneasy sleep, he made a silent promise to himself. He would learn, adapt, and survive. He would help these aliens, Lyria and her people, protect their home, and above all, he would be ready when the hunters came. Somewhere far above, in the endless crimson skies, he knew eyes were watching, searching. The Varkari were patient, intelligent, and merciless. But Ethan was human, and humans were unpredictable. That unpredictability, that spark of ingenuity, might just be enough to change the course of events on this strange, beautiful, and dangerous planet. Morning, or what passed for it in the cavern, brought the sound of movement, the whispers of a society beginning its day underground. Ethan rose, pain still radiating from his shoulder, but determination burning in his chest. He would not be a passive observer here. He would learn, adapt, and perhaps, in time, become a key part of the fight for survival. Lyria appeared beside him once more. "They will come soon. You must be ready." Ethan nodded, meeting her gaze. "Then we won't wait. We'll face them together." Her eyes widened slightly. A hint of surprise and hope. She had warned him, and now he had made a silent promise. Together, perhaps they could turn fear into strength. Perhaps humans, unpredictable and determined, could be the spark that changed the fate of this hidden world. And with that thought, Ethan stepped forward, into the life of a world he did not yet understand, ready for the challenges that lay ahead. The planet was strange, the people alien, and the danger immense, but for the first time since the crash, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Ethan woke to a soft glow filling the cavern, the pale light reflecting off the crystalline walls and casting long, shimmering shadows. The faint hum of energy from the crystals below pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat, and he felt a strange calm in the rhythm. Lyria was already awake, standing nearby, her golden eyes scanning the tunnels for any sign of danger. "You awake," she said, tilting her head. Ethan rubbed his shoulder, wincing slightly. "Barely, but I think I'm going to survive." "How long have you been up?" Long. I must watch. They may come." Ethan studied her. Even after just one day, he could sense the strength hidden behind her youth. She was small, fragile in appearance, yet her vigilance suggested a warrior's instincts. Somehow, the aliens had survived the Varkari for generations, and this girl was a key part of that survival. He slowly followed her deeper into the cavern. As they walked, the walls widened to reveal a massive chamber, filled with alien structures and devices that hummed with energy. Strange machines, delicate and precise, glowed with shifting colors. Some seemed to store energy. Others projected light patterns that were almost like communication. Aliens of different shapes moved throughout the chamber, working together in silent efficiency. "They build," Lyria said softly, noticing his gaze. "We must survive. We prepare. We..." Ethan nodded, trying to absorb everything at once. The aliens were not primitive, they had advanced technology, far beyond what humans had on most exploration missions. Yet they lived in hiding, cautious, wary of something even stronger. The contrast fascinated him. "Lyria, who exactly are the Varkari?" he asked, keeping his voice low. Her eyes darkened, and she glanced toward a distant passage. "Hunters. Cruel. Strong. Fast. They destroy all who resist. They take, enslave, kill." Ethan felt a chill. The words were simple, but the weight behind them was enormous. He had faced enemies before: pirates, rogue AI, even hostile wildlife, but nothing like this. These were not just threats, they were predators of the galaxy, merciless and calculating. "Have they attacked here before?" he asked. "Yes, many times. We survive, hide, but always danger." They moved through the chamber toward another area, where a group of aliens had gathered around a glowing map. Ethan noticed the map pulsing with light, tracking movement across the surface of the planet. Small red dots marked approaching threats, while blue and green symbols indicated settlements and safe zones. They track, Lyria explained. We see approach of hunters. Sometimes too late. Ethan's mind raced. He had to understand this technology, learn how it worked, and find a way to help. If the Varkari were intelligent and relentless, he couldn't rely on luck. Humans had survived by thinking, adapting, and using what they had in clever ways. Maybe that unpredictability could be the key here as well. A sudden alarm broke the quiet. Red lights flashed across the chamber, accompanied by a low, vibrating hum that felt threatening. Lyria grabbed his arm. Now, we must hide. Ethan's heart pounded as they sprinted through winding tunnels, deeper into the hidden layers of the cavern. The hum grew louder, vibrating through his bones, and he realized the Varkari were close, far closer than he had expected. Shadows moved in the distance, shapes that were too fast and too large to be mistaken. Here, Lyria shouted, pulling him into a small alcove. The walls were lined with crystal panels that reflected their figures in strange distortions. Ethan crouched beside her, his mind racing. He had no weapons, no armor, nothing that could truly protect him. But he had his intelligence, his instincts, and the ability to improvise. That could be enough, maybe even more than enough. The Varkari scouts entered the chamber above, their sleek, black bodies glinting in the pale light. They moved silently, scanning, hunting. Ethan watched in fascination and fear. These creatures were terrifyingly efficient. Their movements precise, almost mechanical, yet with a predatory grace that made every step deliberate and lethal. Lyria touched his shoulder. Wait. Do not move. Do not breathe loud. Ethan nodded, trying to slow his racing heart. The scouts paused, sniffing the air, scanning the tunnels. He held his breath as their shadow fell across their hiding place. A black wave that seemed to consume the light around them. Time slowed, each second stretching into an eternity. Then, something unexpected happened. A small crystal panel on the wall flickered. A subtle light flashed in the scouts' vision, confusing them for a moment. Ethan realized this was an opportunity. He scanned the area quickly and spotted a small console nearby. A device connected to the crystalline network. Lyria, maybe I can help, he whispered. She looked at him, eyes wide. Careful. Dangerous. I know, he replied. He didn't hesitate. He leaped toward the console, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. His fingers moved over the alien symbols, instinctively trying combinations that made sense. He didn't fully understand the system, but he had to try something. The device responded, sending a pulse of light through the tunnels. The Varkari scouts froze, their heads twitching as if they were struggling to process the unexpected interference. Ethan pressed further, tapping into the network, learning through instinct and intuition. Suddenly, the lights around the scouts flashed violently, disorienting them. They emitted a low, frustrated growl and retreated, disappearing back into the tunnels above. Ethan collapsed against the console, gasping for breath. Lyria ran to him, her small hands gripping his arms. You did it, she whispered, awe in her voice. You, humans, different, strong. Ethan smiled weakly, still catching his breath. I just adapted. I didn't have a choice. For the first time, Lyria seemed to see him not as a stranger, but as an ally. Her expression softened, and she led him further into the cavern, past deeper layers he had not seen before. Here, the aliens were preparing for defense, reinforcing tunnels, storing energy crystals, and strategizing, Ethan observed carefully. Understanding that their society had survived not just by hiding, but by preparing, thinking ahead, and working together. You want to fight? Lyria asked suddenly, her golden eyes fixed on him. Ethan paused. If it comes to it, yes. But we need a plan. We can't just react, we have to be smart. She nodded slowly. Smart. Yes. You, human, maybe, can help. Over the next hours, Ethan learned more about the alien technology and their way of life. He saw how they harvested energy from the crystals, how they communicated silently through light pulses, and how they had created a hidden network of tunnels spanning miles beneath the planet's surface. Each discovery filled him with awe, but also a sense of responsibility. These beings had lived in fear for generations. They had never known what humans could bring: courage, unpredictability, ingenuity. Ethan tested a few of their devices, learning quickly. He realized that the crystals could store immense energy, power defensive systems, and even emit pulses that could disrupt the Varkari. The potential was enormous, but it required precise timing and understanding. Lyria watched him silently. You learn fast. Humans, maybe. Hope. Ethan smiled faintly. We'll see. I hope I'm fast enough to make a difference. Their training and planning were interrupted by a distant roar. Ethan froze, recognizing the sound immediately. The Varkari were returning. Larger forces this time. The aliens around them moved quickly, signaling each other through light pulses. Panic did not appear on their faces. They were calm, controlled, but ready. Lyria grabbed his hand. Time comes. Must fight? Ethan nodded. We fight. But carefully. We use our brains, not just weapons. The cavern trembled as the Varkari approached, their heavy steps echoing through the tunnels. Ethan positioned himself beside a crystalline console, connecting energy nodes and setting pulses that would create confusion among the enemy. He moved with precision, adapting their technology to human strategy, improvising in ways the aliens had never imagined. When the Varkari entered the chamber, they were met not with panic, but with calculated resistance. Pulses of light disoriented them, barriers rose in their path, and the aliens coordinated in tandem with Ethan's improvised tactics. It was chaos, but organized chaos. And the Varkari were thrown off guard. Ethan marveled at the result. Humans were unpredictable. The Varkari had underestimated this, and it became clear that strategy and creativity were as powerful as any weapon. The battle was short but decisive. The Varkari retreated, confused and frustrated, leaving the cavern intact. Lyria turned to Ethan, her eyes shining with admiration. You saved many. You humans. Special. Ethan shook his head, exhausted but exhilarated. We just survived. Together. That's all. For the first time, he realized something profound. Humans were not just capable of survival. They could inspire courage, spark hope, and make a real difference. Even in the face of a superior enemy. The Varkari were formidable, but humans were resourceful. Humans adapted. Humans never gave up. As the cavern settled into silence again, Ethan and Lyria stood side by side, looking at the alien community around them. It was not perfect, and the danger was far from over. But for the first time, he felt like they could truly fight back. The fight for survival had begun, and Ethan was ready. Ethan lay awake that night, staring at the softly glowing ceiling of the cavern. The hum of the crystals, once a comforting rhythm, now sounded like a warning. The Varkari had retreated, but they would return. That was certain. Their last attack had been brief, disorganized, and yet the creatures had clearly been testing the aliens' defenses. The next time, they would come with strategy, with numbers, and with violence. Lyria approached quietly, her golden eyes reflecting the soft light. You awake again, she said softly. I can't sleep, Ethan admitted. I keep thinking about what comes next. They're smart. They'll come back stronger. Her expression was serious. Then, must strike first. Must show strength. Make hunters. Think twice. Ethan nodded slowly. He had been thinking the same thing. The Varkari relied on fear and speed. If they could disrupt their plans, if they could hit them before they organized, they could gain an advantage. It was risky, but humans thrived on risk when the odds seemed impossible. Morning came, though time felt strange underground. Ethan and Lyria moved through the cavern, visiting alien workstations and planning their attack. The aliens worked with silent precision, setting traps, reinforcing tunnels, and preparing energy nodes to confuse or disable the Varkari. Ethan, using his human intuition, suggested modifications, combining their technology with improvised tactics he had learned from his own experiences in space missions. Strange ideas, Lyria whispered to a group of elders. But, maybe, work. Ethan smiled faintly, understanding her cautious approval. He had to gain their trust, not just their attention. Humans could adapt quickly, but they needed coordination with these aliens if the counterstrike was to succeed. Hours passed as they finalized their plan. Ethan and Lyria would lead a small strike team to sabotage the Varkari's energy outposts. The idea was simple in theory. Hit their supply lines, disrupt communications, and force them to respond while the main alien settlement reinforced its defenses. It was bold, dangerous, and exactly the kind of strategy that might succeed where caution alone had failed. When the time came, Ethan donned a lightweight harness that the aliens provided, fitted with crystal-powered tools and energy disruptors. Lyria and a small band of skilled aliens accompanied him, moving through narrow tunnels to reach a hidden exit onto the surface. The sky was still crimson, with clouds swirling like smoke above the jagged crystalline peaks. Ethan took a deep breath. "Remember," he said quietly to the group, "we're fast, we're smart, and we stay together. The Varkari won't expect this. We make them hesitate." The aliens nodded, understanding without words. They were skilled, but their experience had always been defensive, reactive. Now, they were going to fight. Guided by the humans' daring and ingenuity, they moved through the tunnels, emerging onto the surface under the cover of jagged crystal formations. Ethan led the way, scanning the horizon with his enhanced visor. In the distance, he spotted a Varkari outpost, a cluster of black, angular structures, almost camouflaged against the jagged terrain. The creatures themselves patrolled in pairs, moving with predatory grace. Ethan signaled, and the group approached carefully, using natural cover and crystal shadows to remain hidden. He whispered instructions, combining human tactics with alien technology. Energy pulses were positioned to disorient Varkari sensors, while the aliens prepared crystal traps to slow and confuse the predators. As they neared the outpost, Ethan felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. He had faced danger before, but nothing like this creature's intelligent, strong, and deadly. Yet, the challenge thrilled him. Humans had always survived because they could think in ways no other species could. He intended to prove that once again. The first phase went smoothly. Ethan triggered a pulse that disabled the Varkari surveillance nodes, and Lyria's team placed crystal traps along key paths. The outpost's defenses faltered, and the Varkari began to respond in confusion. The humans' and aliens' coordination was seamless, blending improvisation with precision. But then, a sharp, echoing roar split the air. Ethan's heart leaped. A larger force of Varkari was approaching, more numerous and faster than anticipated. They had underestimated the retaliation, and now the hunters were responding with full force. "Move!" Ethan shouted. They scattered into pre-planned positions. Crystal pulses flashed across the rocky terrain, disorienting some of the Varkari, while traps slowed others. The aliens fired energy bursts, precise and controlled, striking key points to disrupt communication among the creatures. Ethan acted instinctively. He darted between the cover of crystals, using both human speed and ingenuity to disable Varkari drones, creating gaps in their formation. He realized that the creatures relied heavily on patterns and predictability. The humans' unpredictable movement and combined attacks forced the Varkari to adapt on the fly, and that gave them an edge. Lyria fought beside him, her movements precise and calculated, yet inspired by Ethan's boldness. She had never seen such tactics applied so creatively. Humans were indeed different. They could improvise in the moment, see opportunities that others missed. The battle raged, a dance of light and shadow, energy and brute strength. The Varkari were relentless, but Ethan's strategies worked. They struck where the enemy was weakest, sabotaged power nodes, and freed alien captives held in makeshift pens at the outpost. As the conflict reached its peak, Ethan spotted a massive figure approaching the Varkari leader. Towering above the rest, its black, chitinous armor glinted in the crimson light. It moved with terrifying intelligence, scanning for threats, and instantly recognized Ethan as the main instigator. "Lyria, cover me," Ethan shouted. "We take it down together." The leader advanced, swinging massive limbs and emitting a high-pitched, threatening roar. Ethan dodged, using the crystalline landscape to his advantage. He triggered a sequence of energy pulses that disrupted the leader's sensors temporarily, giving him a window to attack. Lyria joined, combining her precision strikes with Ethan's unpredictability. Together, human and alien, they exploited the creature's brief vulnerability. It was dangerous, exhausting, and chaotic. But the Varkari leader hesitated, confused by the coordinated assault. Humans were not predictable. They did not follow patterns, and their ability to improvise created openings that even a superior predator could not anticipate. Ethan realized something important in that moment. Humans had a power beyond physical strength or technology. It was their creativity, their ability to think differently under pressure, that gave them an edge. The Varkari had never faced anything like it. Finally, with a coordinated strike, the leader stumbled, retreating into the shadows with a roar of frustration. The remaining Varkari, disoriented and demoralized, withdrew from the outpost. Ethan and Lyria's team had won a decisive victory, one that would give the underground settlement precious time to strengthen defenses and prepare for future attacks. They returned to the cavern, exhausted but triumphant. The aliens greeted them with cautious admiration. Lyria looked at Ethan with a mixture of awe and respect. "You, humans, strong, brave, smart, maybe hope." Ethan smiled faintly, wiping sweat from his brow. "We survived. Together. That's what matters." As the cavern settled into quiet again, Ethan felt a deep sense of connection with these beings. They were different. Yes, but their courage and intelligence mirrored his own. And now, he understood that humans could bring something unique to this world, something that the Varkari could never predict or understand. That night, Ethan lay down once more, the hum of the crystals now a comforting rhythm. He thought about the battle, about the creativity, courage, and adaptability that had carried them through. Humans were capable of extraordinary things, especially when their instincts and intelligence were combined with trust and teamwork. Lyria sat nearby, watching him with quiet intensity. "Tomorrow, more Varkari may come," she whispered. Ethan nodded. "Then we're ready. We've learned a lot today, and we'll use it. Humans don't give up, they adapt, and we'll adapt together with you." Her golden eyes glimmered with hope. For the first time, she truly believed that the hidden civilization had a chance, and that the humans they had once viewed as strangers could be allies, protectors, and perhaps even heroes. The next days were spent reinforcing the cavern, preparing traps, and training together. Ethan taught the aliens to anticipate Varkari tactics, to use unpredictability to their advantage, and to combine their technology with his improvisational strategies. Slowly, they began to see the humans' value not just in strength, but in creativity and courage. Ethan, for his part, learned from them as well. Their technology, their ways of communication, and their ability to live in harmony underground expanded his understanding of what intelligence and survival meant. Together, they became stronger, a combined force that no single predator could easily defeat. Even as he trained and strategized, Ethan's thoughts often returned to the sky above, to the Varkari waiting, calculating, and planning. He knew that the next attack would be more dangerous, more organized, but he also knew that humans were capable of extraordinary ingenuity, and with the aliens by his side, they could turn fear into strategy, weakness into strength, and survival into victory. That night, as the cavern hummed with quiet energy and the aliens rested, Ethan felt a sense of determination stronger than any fear. The fight was far from over, but for the first time, he believed that humans, with their unpredictability and courage, could change the outcome. And somewhere deep within him, a spark of pride glimmered. Humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, thinkers, and fighters, and in a galaxy where fear ruled for so long, that spark might just become a flame bright enough to challenge the darkness. Ethan woke to a deep, uneasy silence. The cavern, usually alive with the hum of crystal energy, was muted. Even the faint glows that guided their paths seemed dimmer, as if the entire underground settlement was holding its breath. Today was the day. The Varkari were returning, not scouts, not a small strike team, but the full force. The massive predator that had led their last encounter was coming to finish what it had started. Lyria approached him, her golden eyes steady but filled with a quiet fear. Today, hunters, come. You ready? Ethan nodded. As ready as I can be. We've planned, trained, and prepared. Now it's time to show them what humans and allies together can do. The aliens had spent days fortifying the tunnels, setting traps, reinforcing crystal barriers, and organizing energy nodes that could disable or confuse the Varkari. Ethan had contributed every insight he had, combining human tactical thinking with the alien technology. He had learned their language enough to communicate quickly and had begun to understand their strategies. But despite preparation, he knew that nothing could fully prepare them for what was coming. They moved into position, deeper into the tunnels, the glow from the crystals illuminating the passageways like silent sentinels. Ethan's pulse quickened. The Varkari were approaching from above, their heavy steps shaking the surface of the planet, sending vibrations down through the rock. The hum of the crystals grew in intensity, reacting to the fear, the energy, and the approaching predator. Lyria placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. Remember, use mind, not only strength. We, together, can win. Ethan swallowed hard. I know. We'll do it together. The first Varkari arrived, crashing through the tunnels in a wave of black, glinting forms. Their leader followed, massive and terrifying, its movements precise and deliberate. The creatures had adapted since their last encounter. They were faster, more coordinated, and angrier. But Ethan had seen the cracks in their strategy before they relied on predictable patterns, on fear, on intimidation. Humans did not follow patterns. Humans improvised. He activated a series of crystal nodes, sending pulses of energy that disoriented the Varkari, causing them to stumble and lose formation. Lyria and her team struck simultaneously, using energy bursts and traps to confuse the attackers further. The Varkari leader roared, swinging massive limbs, and Ethan dove behind a crystal barrier, analyzing its movements. It was intelligent, yes, but it was not human. It could not anticipate creativity, adaptability, or unpredictability. Ethan realized that their greatest strength was exactly what the Varkari could not understand: human ingenuity. He grabbed a device that emitted a blinding pulse of light, the alien's newest invention, and threw it toward the leader. The device exploded with a burst of energy, momentarily stunning the creature. Ethan and Lyria charged together, striking at its weak points, areas where the crystal barriers amplified their attacks. Every move was calculated, yet fluid, improvised in response to the creature's unexpected reactions. The Varkari retaliated with raw strength, hurling massive limbs and emitting piercing shrieks. Ethan ducked, rolled, and leaped, weaving through the battlefield with a combination of human agility and quick thinking. He directed the aliens to exploit openings, to create diversions, and to reinforce the barriers where the Varkari might break through. It was chaos, yet organized chaos. The combination of human strategy and alien precision created a force the Varkari could not counter. One by one, the creatures faltered, disoriented and confused by the unpredictable attacks. The leader roared in frustration. Realizing that its usual tactics were failing, Ethan's mind raced. He could feel the rhythm of the battle, the flow of energy through the crystals, and the weaknesses in the enemy's formation. He improvised again, using a series of energy pulses to create illusions, making the leader think there were multiple attackers where there were only a few. The creature lunged toward one illusion, missing entirely, while Ethan and Lyria struck from another angle. The Varkari leader's frustration grew, and it began to make mistakes. Its attacks became reckless, leaving it vulnerable. Ethan saw his chance. He signaled to Lyria, and together, they executed a final, coordinated strike. Energy pulses from the crystals converged on the leader, disorienting it completely. While Ethan used a reinforced alien tool to immobilize its limbs temporarily, Lyria struck the final blow, striking a precise point that disabled the creature's core energy, the source of its strength. The Varkari leader fell, letting out a final, haunting shriek before collapsing. The remaining Varkari scattered, their coordination broken, their confidence shattered. The cavern erupted in cheers and relief. The underground society had survived, and for the first time, they knew that victory was possible. Ethan sank to the ground, exhausted but exhilarated. Lyria knelt beside him, her golden eyes shining with admiration. You, humans, brave, clever, strong. Maybe we survive now. Ethan smiled faintly, feeling the weight of the battle lift. It wasn't just me. We did this together. Humans, aliens. Together. We're stronger. In the days that followed, the settlement worked tirelessly to repair the damage from the battle. Ethan assisted with strategies for future defenses, teaching the aliens to anticipate attacks, improvise responses, and trust in the unpredictable power of human thinking. Lyria stayed by his side, learning and watching, realizing that humans were not just another species, they were unique, capable of inspiring hope, courage, and change even in the darkest times. The Varkari did not return immediately, but their presence was felt in the subtle tremors, the distant echoes across the crystal peaks. The threat remained, but the underground settlement was ready. Humans had brought something new to this hidden world: ingenuity, adaptability, and a willingness to face danger head-on. Ethan spent hours teaching the aliens how to combine their crystal technology with human strategies. He showed them how to anticipate movement patterns, create diversions, and use unpredictability as a weapon. Slowly, they began to see humans not as fragile outsiders, but as partners, creatures capable of brilliance, courage, and resilience. One evening, Ethan and Lyria stood on a high crystal platform overlooking the cavern. The faint glow of energy illuminated the tunnels below, casting long, shimmering shadows. "Do you, humans, always fight like this?" Lyria asked softly. Ethan chuckled faintly. "We fight in many ways. Sometimes with strength, sometimes with brains. Mostly, we survive by adapting, by thinking, by refusing to give up." Her eyes glimmered with understanding. "Maybe humans, special. You, not just strong, clever. Hope." Ethan looked out at the tunnels, at the aliens preparing, at the energy flowing through the crystals, and he realized the truth in her words. Humans were more than survivors, they were thinkers, innovators, and fighters. And when humans stood with others, they could change the course of events, even against overwhelming odds. The following weeks were filled with training, repairs, and cautious exploration. Ethan led scouting missions across the planet, mapping areas that could serve as strategic points or potential traps. Lyria accompanied him, learning his ways, observing how humans anticipated danger, and understanding the power of unpredictability. Together, they became a symbol of hope for the underground society. The Varkari eventually returned, but they were met with a prepared and united force. Ethan's strategies had transformed the alien society from a hidden, fearful community into a coordinated and resilient one. Energy pulses, crystal traps, and coordinated attacks disrupted the Varkari's formations at every turn. The humans' unpredictability, combined with alien precision, created a force the hunters could not overcome. During the final confrontation, Ethan faced the Varkari leader once more. The creature was furious, its black armor glinting ominously under the crimson sky, but Ethan did not hesitate. He used everything he had learned, the patterns, the weaknesses, the timing, and his own intuition to anticipate the leader's movements. Lyria struck alongside him, their attacks synchronized perfectly, human and alien moving as one. The battle was intense, a clash of strength, intelligence, and willpower. The Varkari leader underestimated humans again, and that miscalculation proved fatal. With a precise combination of energy pulses, crystal barriers, and coordinated strikes, the leader fell, defeated. Its army scattered, leaving the planet under the protection of Ethan, Lyria, and the United Alien Society. As the dust settled, Ethan stood amidst the glow of the crystals, breathing heavily, but smiling. Lyria approached, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You, humans, not alone. You, brave. You, saved us." Ethan shook his head, looking at the alien community celebrating around him. "We saved each other. Humans, aliens, together. That's what makes us strong." For the first time, the underground society truly believed it could survive. They had faced the Varkari, the most terrifying predators they had ever known, and they had won. And they had humans to thank not for strength alone, but for ingenuity, courage, and the ability to think in ways that even the hunters could not predict. Ethan prepared to return to his ship, knowing that the universe was vast, and humanity's place in it was only beginning to be understood. Lyria stood by the exit, her golden eyes reflecting both the cavern's glow and the hope for the future. "You go?" she asked softly. Ethan nodded. "I have to, but I'll be back. We've made a bond here, and humans don't forget." She smiled faintly. "Then, maybe, humans not only survive, maybe change worlds." Ethan looked at the stars above, the crimson sky of the alien planet slowly fading into the dawn of hope. "We will," he said quietly. "Humans will always try. We adapt. We survive. And we fight. Not just for ourselves, but for others too. That's what makes us human." As he lifted off in his ship, leaving the cavern and the aliens behind, Ethan realized the truth of Lyria's words. Humans were not alone in the universe, but they had a power unlike any other species, the power to think, to adapt, and to inspire hope. That spark, he knew, could ignite change across galaxies. And somewhere below, in the quiet glow of the crystals, Lyria watched him go, knowing that the humans who walked among the stars were not just another species. They were heroes, allies, and a force that could shape the fate of worlds. Ethan's ship pierced the crimson skies, leaving the alien planet behind, but carrying with him the promise of humans' courage, ingenuity, and resilience. The battle was over, but the story of survival, unity, and hope had only just begun. And somewhere deep in his heart, he knew that humanity's role in the universe was far from finished.